approval of the minutes from May 18th. Assuming everybody had a chance to go through them, so I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move.
A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we will not be having any public comment tonight. Do any board members, have they been contacted with anything to be brought up this evening for anybody?
I don't know.
I was contacted by Sammy DeRocher, and she mentioned that she's going to be putting, or she spoke to Casey about making some signs to put, and on the corner, what is it, Dean Lane Park?
Yep.
And Jonathan thinks it's a fabulous idea.
Great.
So she ordered signs.
Good. Okay.
And as far as I know, that's it.
Okay. Anybody else? Chris, anything?
No.
No?
I guess I was contacted by a taxpayer citizen. I was going to bring it up in roundtable, but I can bring it now. Those of you who might be familiar with the fire ring, or whatever it might be called, in the Great Sacandaga, where they have fires at camps.
Ring of fire.
Ring of fire, that makes more sense. So they have the ring of fire around the people's homes around the Great Sacandaga to sort of help with the celebration of the 4th. Mike Camoin, who is Bob Camoin's son, and they have camp here as well, had sent me something yesterday and suggested, he was not sure what the village/parade committee was going to be doing for the 4th, and he thought it was a fairly benign thing. If the town wanted to sponsor something like that, he would help in the coordination of getting the word out for that. I don't think there's any liability to us. I mean, they're homes, you know, they're just people making fires in a, I guess, a concerted effort, concerted time frame. I think for the folks who go out on the lake during such festivities, it would be quite a nice visual. And somebody even spoke about maybe doing a drone picture, you know, of it.
Nice.
But I know that the village board meeting, I did Zoom attend the village board meeting this past week, and it looks like they're coming to terms between fireworks and a stationary parade for the parade committee. They can explain it better than I can, but it's gonna be something rather than nothing. Of course, there's no carnival or anything. So maybe that's something we could discuss later in the meeting as to whether that seems like something we want to get behind. I told Mike I would get back to him on that.
Okay. Okay, next, Randy, highway.
Yes. I guess I'm gonna skip the building first, which is kind of more interesting.
Can we
We had a fire here.
Here?
Yes.
Whoa.
So,
That is more interesting.
you may or may not have realized it. It was 2 Thursdays ago. I received a phone call from the health center that said one of our flower pots was burning. Or smoking, I should say.
Wow.
And so I was in Perkins Clearing when I received this, and I assumed it was a message because I was in that cell service.
Yeah, sure.
I assumed it was a 6:30 fog blowing, you know. I came into town and rounded the corner here into the parking lot, and the 2 flower pots that had gotten moved there last fall, that are now moved.
We talking the big wooden things?
The big
barrels.
wooden things
Barrels.
that you see all
Whiskey
over
barrels.
barrels that you
Yep.
see all over town.
Mhm.
One of them was bellowing smoke out of them. So Matt Sykes and I went up to, somebody else had already moved it away from the building, the siding was burnt and melted,
That's okay.
black smoke upside the
Ow.
building. And I was going to just say, okay, it just, you know, whatever reason, but then Matt noticed that there was plastic jugs in the bottom. And that is where it got interesting, because then we started thinking possible old meth lab stuff that they threw in there to hide it, so on and so forth.
The
So-
garden club.
Yeah.
Yep, the garden club. Now don't ruin my story.
Doesn't sound
Oh,
like
I decided to call the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department said nobody was on, but they would send the county fire coordinator, Sean, deputy. I also called the fire department chief, Matt. They both showed up about the same time. We poked and prodded and so on and so forth, and next thing you know, Sean called Carl called the lovely state troopers in, and we did a thorough investigation of such matter. Come to find out, we emptied the barrels, the opposite barrel, and found out that the garden club uses empty recyclable jugs to fill in the space underneath.
So you don't need so much soil.
You need so much soil. They then assumed it was somebody threw a cigarette butt
Yep.
into that, it was hot the day before, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
They did search it, they never found the cigarette butt, they don't know if it burnt, you know.
Chris's would have been more interesting, I think, you know, the path you went.
So the moral of the story is, A, we should not be storing these next to the building. B, I called Betsy down, and that very first question out of everybody's mouths was, do you have cameras? And I said, no. We have cameras on the salt shed, we have cameras on the pole barn, we have cameras on the bus garage, we have cameras in our shop.
And on the
We do not have cameras here or the health center. So.
Well,
I
it
am
usually takes
proposing-
something to happen.
Bingo.
We got cameras because we got broken into.
Right.
when I was-
Correct.
Yeah,
And
It
it became very
always
much worth it.
Seems to be a reaction, not a
Sure.
proaction.
That's right.
So, had I turned this corner and the flames were bellowing out of the top of this roof, we would have been very,
Yeah. So,
sad, in a bad situation 2 Thursdays ago.
From the looks of
Memorial Day weekend.
looks of the side in there too, it could have very well happened.
It could have,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
well, if no one catches it, so
That
no one
siding
sees
is
it.
melted.
Yeah.
yeah. It definitely, the barrel got the siding hot enough to drip and everything else.
Sure.
Thankfully, the zip board has a very high R value, or burn time.
Yeah, tolerance.
But I would love to know who did what in such situations.
Well, as you say, it could be as simple as cigarettes and
It could be,
people think they're receptacles instead of what they are.
correct. So
Because
now,
this year-
we've already been through the receptacle thing,
Yeah.
and we found out that that's not a good plan either, guys. I'm already prepared for this argument. Because we found out that A, they stink, B, they catch themselves on fire also, smoldering. C, we're not encouraging people to walk up to the health center and library smoking.
right.
Right.
We've been through this whole scenario
Right.
before. I am asking that permission to purchase 2 systems, one for here, one for the health center, one for each corner of the building. On a system,
Definitely.
so it records.
They're better
it-
and cheaper
It
every day.
records it in the basement.
I'm
We
for it.
hope that the basement, that nothing ever gets that point.
I hear that it was a Clorox bottle.
One was a Clorox and one was
So
a
that
dish
might have-
soap bottle, but that's why we
Yeah,
didn't know what was going on, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
See something,
I always
say
use
something,
milk
so.
jugs for that,
We
not
did.
Clorox.
So does somebody wanna move to
I'll
get
move.
Randy?
They're about $500 a piece, just so you know,
I'll second.
what we've been getting for the town.
Okay, any further
So it's gonna
discussion?
be the same thing that you're familiar with?
Yeah, I'm trying to, yes.
Okay, it's kind of.
Whether or not it's a different model because it's updated, but.
They keep getting better and
That
cheaper
thing,
every
but
day.
Yes, I think it's needed.
Yep.
I
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Well, if someone walks up the steps in flip-flops and slips and falls, at least we'll have it on camera, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So, anyway, okay.
Been there
So,
too.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, so as you may or may not have noticed, the deck is slowly progressing. We did not find a legitimate resource for the Trex decking that's quote-unquote anti-slip that is anywhere in this country. The coastal states, some of them, California, so on and so forth. But the shipping of 12 words, maybe we're prosperous.
Yeah, it seems silly.
Getting here. So we're going with regular Trex decking with a wood grain on it and
Should be fine.
hopefully that is, you know, the best we can do at this time, and if we have to put anti-slip spray on it, then so be it. That's what we're going for. It'll have wood railings, so on and so forth. The decking should be here Wednesday. And we'll continue construction tomorrow. They're gonna put the railings on and so on and so forth. Kevin Ayer has been working on it. And when he needs help, whoever is available. Next is FEMA. I have been literally pulling my hair out, what little hair I have, with FEMA.
I'm not putting that in my minutes.
Okay. They have circled around with this whole, I talked to you about a virtual tours, down to before they do a virtual tour, they wanna know proof of ownership of roads, proof of every possible thing, every coordinate, GPS. So we started doing a GPS thing, so figured that was an easy start. Our GPS is not satisfactory to them because it only bounces off 2 satellites and it's within 400 foot of where it's actually taken. So we either have to get a much more expensive GPS unit, or I don't know if we wanna get a better one anyways, and this is just a reason, or we got to wait for them to come up whenever that is, and they have no idea when that can be, and do their own GPSing. I tried to plead with them today, and it seems so far so good, but it hasn't reached the higher ups of FEMA to go with what we have, and they're gonna have to understand that this is the best possible that we have.
What is the cost of a
I
better?
do not know that. This was hit on me later on this afternoon.
And is it chargeable to FEMA?
It more than likely is, because it's a tool that we have to do
Yep.
to satisfy our grant, possibilities, so 3/4 of it will be paid by us.
Just wondering, because all these things come down in price so much,
Right,
all the time.
I'm sure it's not astronomical in my world of things, but,
That scares me.
In your world. That's not our world.
Is that something we can use in the future too, or we would have?
well, unfortunately, we can use it in the future as we already did all the bicycle trails and, snowmobile trails. We always had one because we used it, but within, so many feet for the state of New York was always good. Now we're dealing with the feds, it's a different game. So, I don't know, maybe, if they come back to me and say, no, Hamilton Lake Road is in the woods, which it is anyways, even if you look on Google Earth,
Sure.
there's nothing but the line is through trees. So whether or not the line matches the other line perfectly, I don't understand, but, that's what I'm up against right now is, they're laying my coordinates of where these washups were onto the Google Earth, and they're not matching where the road is.
They never do.
And they never do, exactly, and for whatever reason, they're saying that the feds are not gonna allow this.
Well, the roads are right. The Google Earth doesn't seem to take into the geosynchron.
You're right, all that,
Shapes.
unless you have 3 to 5, he told me today that you need to have 3 to 5 satellites, no matter where you are, to get a true
Right. So
vector.
they cross section,
That spot.
yep.
What are other towns doing, Arietta, Wells?
Arietta doesn't have, Arietta hasn't gotten to that. Wells hired a service out of Rochester to come do all their FEMA work. They took the easy route out. The county has Lenny GPSing all their issues. Now, that is an option for us. Time frame, I have no idea, because Arietta is waiting for them to get done with the county and go help them.
So they're enlisting Lenny as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we're gonna stand in this.
Gotcha.
Do you have any idea what a GPS would cost, Randy?
Wait,
A
what?
good one, a good one would cost?
No, I don't know, what by the end of this meeting I can tell you. I'll Google it. A decent one. Because what we have is your typical hunter's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
version. you know.
Which is fine for 90%.
Let's get through the woods and find out where I went. But I did not research.
Okay, so like at the end of the meeting, would you come
Yeah.
back with something?
Randy, whose letter that you're talking about the county using? Is that,
Like,
Crow, C-R. Crew.
Fruit from Soil and Water.
CROOTE.
There you go.
So,
Thank you.
that being said,
Lenny Kravitz?
I came to you earlier this year saying that we're going to end up spending a lot of money in high hopes that the FEMA is going to reimburse, get us money. Some of this money is going to have to come out of pocket first. So, I made up a little tally sheet here in front of me. By the end of the whole saga, if they pay their 75% of everything I put in, we will, plus we add in our paving monies this year, all the projects that I get done, we will end up in the black for the projects by approximately $10,000.
In those guesstimates, what are we talking about on the upfront outlay
Yeah,
that you don't have budgeted for?
there's a lot. Now, the Hamilton Lake Road is actual cost, well, the FEMA part of it is 81,000. Okay, so we get done with that, we send the paperwork in, hopefully within 8 to 10 months from that, we will see it. So you're not gonna see it in this budget here.
No.
We already finished our emergency funds, that's 118,000, so we should see $88,500 of that. We have been since January trying to get that paperwork solved. Here it is in June, and I still have not received the sign-off sheet, where the people that I deal with's boss has okayed it. So it's taking time. The last one was they wanted the GPS coordinates of our generators. Literally, the 1, 2, 3 generators. I said, go on Google Earth, find our health center, our library, and pinpoint it. There it is.
Can't we just rely on addresses, on things like that?
Nope,
If
they
they want,
want coordinates on everything.
they're gonna surveil us from the satellites?
Uh-huh. And that's because they can't, this is all because they can't come up here with a mask on. Mind you this. They were supposed to come this spring and do an inspection and walk through every bit of this and sign off on it and do all their own GPSing and do all their own stuff.
It's a high-class COVID excuse.
So now we are stuck with this because of Corona. And here we are.
Did you point out to them they'd be safer up here than wherever the hell they are now?
I pleaded with them pretty hard 2 weeks ago, just come up here, do it, and then go back home and say, wow, there it is on my computer. And they would not, even think of it. So the biggest, baddest, worstest scenario that we gotta shell out in this whole project is the culvert / bridge / cluster that's on Fish Mountain Road next to Tom Akins's driveway, below his driveway, the pond. That is a stone-laid bridge, converted with 2 sections of 4-foot concrete culvert stuffed in the end of it, and at that joint, it failed. So we had Lenny look at the flow through it, and he deemed it needing like a 20+ foot culvert in order to handle floodwaters. So then we went to the county, Tracy, and he brought in Andy, the engineer, and they have come up with a plan that he is developing estimates for right now to get to me a proposal of a bridge. It's going to be a 16-foot bridge. Crossing that where they drive steel pylons in on each side and then just lay a deck bridge over it. There's no, the greatest part is there's no taking out wetlands, so on and so forth. The only thing they're taking out is what's man-made put in there.
That still need
It'll still.
filter
but those will
fabric
be-
and,
No, there'll be steel pylons driven right
Gotcha.
in, hooked together, and that retains the road.
gotcha.
And then from one to the other is the steel span bridges over the top of it.
What size culvert did Lenny want put in
20
there?
foot's big.
20 foot
20 foot high,
wide.
wide,
And it's
That's
going to be at
enormous.
least, what's there now is 10 foot.
right,
Yeah. That's big.
So almost this building,
Yeah.
this room right here.
Can you
Now, in order to do that, imagine the head walls that we'd have to dig out of this
Exactly.
swamp
Sure.
and the lakeside there. So the APA and Army Corps of Engineers and everything would have a connection about this.
Sure, now you're talking about buffer dams and.
Correct. And then the dewatering
Filter
starts to
fabric.
get that dry
Sure.
to do all of this and keep it dry. Never mind the time frame which we're gonna have to close the road.
I mean, he's got a point about what could happen on a one big, whoosh of water,
Right,
but, that's an awful big project.
right, but in order to go with FEMA money, you have to meet certain standards.
True. I agree.
now is that our responsibility? I was under the impression that bridges were county responsibility.
Maintenance. Once we build it, they take it over and then it's theirs,
Alright, we have to build.
but we have to build it.
That's
So they
new
do all the
to me. I
maintenance.
thought the county was responsible.
County does all the maintenance, including replacement if so set.
Right. County builds all the
So if it
bridges on
washed
county
out, they
roads.
would replace it?
No, because it wasn't, what's determined as a bridge is abutment to abutment.
Right.
Being that it's a stone laid, there's no abutments.
County builds plenty of bridges, but they build them on county roads.
Right.
Town roads, you build it,
Right.
then hand over the
And
maintenance.
now
to-
they're subbing that out to these companies now. So the whole nutshell is around $300,000 close estimate for this project. 30,000 of that is engineering.
All right.
That engineering involves telling us what we need, laying it all out for us, helping us put out to bid all the specs, everything else, because obviously this is gonna have to go out to bid. Doing all the work from start to finish, inspecting while they're building it, the whole 9 yards. So this is what Tracy's been doing for all the county bridges now. But when he comes back to me before the next meeting, I asked him to have it done in less than 2 weeks. He's gonna come back with a proposal, and he's not gonna move any further helping us get this through FEMA until we agree that his fees, the engineer, are, we can pay him. So I'm gonna have to come back to you with a proposal to hire the engineer to start laying this all out, and then help us get FEMA money for it.
Has there been any back and forth lately because of the delay? I mean, let's face it, this was a Halloween storm, it's already pretty delayed, but now with all this COVID thing and a whole lot less coordination. Remember when we sat in on that meeting at the fire hall,
Mm-hmm.
you thought you were gonna have hand-holding from the state
Yeah.
emergency guys, and you
The
haven't had that either.
The hand-holding stopped when COVID started.
Sure.
Because the guys that were holding our hands,
Yeah, those were the state guys.
the state guys,
Mhm.
now have, the one that I've been dealing with the most, George, he has 10 to 12 COVID townships to deal with.
Right.
And so does Tony have another onslaught on that. So not that we've been put on the back burner, but we've been squished together with COVID.
So my question framed in that, has there been any talk or recent talk about splitting some of these projects by their need to stretch this over a 2-year period instead of one?
The only thing that's been mentioned is, if next year at this time you don't feel that you can get this done in our 1-year
Right.
allotment, then we could ask for an extension. That's,
I mean, I gotta figure there's gonna be an awful lot of communities
they're gonna.
that with that size nut are gonna end up asking for that extension.
We're not the only ones.
I think we're right in the middle, Don, from what I've heard from people in
The
Essex
project-
County and so on.
Breaking
A lot of
it down
damage
into
out
smaller projects, that's gone, we're not gonna be able to do that?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, we are.
I still have 12 projects total.
I thought you were telling me, oh no, okay.
No, I was just
No,
saying
he's
that,
asking-
that the feds always talk about in funding things, there's drop dead dates and so on.
Yeah,
And, you would think, since they're the ones who are jammed up more than are we, I mean, he's behind on some of these measurements they're asking for, but, and as I just said, Don, Essex County, Warren County, I know fellas that are in small government, they've got about the same size, 10, 12 projects, all of which are way past what they can handle, you know, they're not budgeted for. So I think we're right in the middle of the road, I think it's gonna be a lot of us,
Right.
that will eventually, if we can't, you know, float a bond or whatever, we're gonna end up having to put an extension in for the second year. Now, no one's gonna be happy if they're in the second year of fixing those things, because we all have identified where these washouts, et cetera, are. But there are some that are more traveled and more, you know, priority than others.
Prioritize. We have completed our emergency fund stuff. We have completed Perkins Clearing. Tomorrow I'm going to start entering that information in. The completed projects, according to George, go faster getting to the funding because
Sure.
they can see everything he already did and there is not going to be add-ons. The estimates seem to take forever because they're nervous that you're
Your pocket.
making it large, adding the top.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I said, I'm gonna come with an engineer's report and plan and so on and so forth, hopefully in the next meeting. I feel that we should at least get that going, so we can start the paperwork, start the whole process to FEMA, so that, you know, the bid's coming in, so, you know, if it doesn't happen this fall, we'll just cold patch the hole. I mean, according to this engineer, I should be closing the road. If I shut Fish Mountain down and everything has to go out Tamarack, there's gonna be a lot of upset people.
You ain't kidding.
And we've driven over it all winter long and so on, and we've had to add to it, don't get me wrong. But,
I mean, that's a little,
yeah, I think that's
Extreme.
up to the big step.
Good thing those big tankers don't go over that.
Well, the tractor trailers go over it, to Vogels and everything, so we plow over it with tandems all winter long, but it's frozen then.
Vogels uses the pit there.
They used to build them better back then.
Yeah.
And,
I'm serious.
you put a temporary weight limit on it.
We can do it, it's our roads, we can do whatever we want with it. Whether or not they yield to that, I don't know.
Well, you say, I mean.
It would cover us, that's what it is, if they went through and did the damage and they were there, well, what it's not gonna cover is they go through, knock a couple bricks out, and the next car goes through and falls through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you put, at least we're covered a little bit with that, and you could still leave it open. And if somebody does happen to see the truck go over, I'm sure our local contractors will cooperate with it
Right.
as much as they can.
Much as they can.
There is another way to get around it.
Right.
It's a little longer,
Right, that's the key, as long as there's a way to get to those pits.
but, right.
Problem is if there's a fire,
Yeah.
No, there's
Because the fire trucks are, well, fire trucks weigh as much as
They're
our plows, don't they?
Yeah, they're less than the plows probably.
They're less.
Yeah.
well,
no, I'm saying if you had to close that bridge.
Yeah.
if you had
Yeah,
to
you
I
want
definitely
to
wouldn't wanna close it.
You
If
definitely
Tom's
do.
house caught on fire, it takes much longer to get around.
Sure.
Way longer.
Yeah, I mean, post it for, if you have to, but the closing's really kind of out of
Yeah,
question.
postage don't matter in emergencies.
No,
Right.
What's this emergency fund that's finished that you're talking about?
That is what all the work we did last fall. That's what they classified. it
Our
as.
money, or this is,
This
you
is
talk
what we-
emergency fund, that's not an emergency fund that you had in our
No,
budget.
no.
Right,
This
okay.
is what the emergency work that we did all last fall, getting the roads back open.
Mhm.
All the materials, time, equipment, everything like that was the generators, fuel, everything that we compiled that we did last
it
fall.
was sent in.
it was
Every
sent in,
cost.
And we're still trying to get that finalized. But it's gone up the food chain pretty high now, and they say it's getting close, but we still don't have that lovely piece of paper to sign off that says they accepted it.
Okay.
The one that comes before the money.
Right. So that's pretty much in a nutshell, all the FEMA work. Page Street's gonna start on Wednesday, grinding of the road, and then
Good.
start grading and hopefully we pave that before the 4th of July, but I'm not guaranteeing that either. We've already been shoved off 2 weeks with the grinding, so,
Is that paving just between the lines that are on the road now? Is that
Yes.
what's gonna be paved?
yeah. Correct, 2,100 feet on Page Street, 400 feet on, Page Hill Road. So, next on my list, employment, mechanic. You all got the emails, they all responded. I spoke to, Donnie, and he has accepted, and is waiting for me to say that we all accepted and passed a resolution and such to hire him at $18 an hour.
So move.
Second.
Aye.
It's like we're gonna fall over each other trying to get the signature.
Yeah, right. Any discussion?
Any more discussion than the last 6 months worth of meetings?
Yeah, really.
Did I
Okay.
have a name, somebody you're hiring at $18 an hour?
Don Pinkerton,
Junior.
Donald
The third.
Allen
Third,
Pinkerton, the third.
Don Pinkerton the third.
So it says his application.
Well, he's
Okay.
junior.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what it would make them.
When's he starting, Randy?
He is going to give 2 weeks' notice the moment I give him a phone
Okay.
call.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Where's he working now?
Michael Connors.
Okay.
We'll thank Mike for the training.
Next?
That's it,
That's all?
that's all.
That's it.
Good night, Randy.
But I haven't filled the whole paper.
Oh, you want me to continue?
And she writes small. She writes pretty small.
Okay, so then we'll move on to old business. BTI program is complete. Vi stopped in last week to let us know, she said the small streams had a lot of larvae, and some of the big streams didn't have much at all. They did all but 2, because the weather changed and it got so warm. Just want to thank Vi, Mark, and Bill for another successful year, and also a special thank you to Mark, because this was his last year of service. He is now retiring from the BTI program. So we will be looking for 2 new applicators. If interested, anybody knows anybody, call Town Hall. And hopefully by the fall, we'll have a couple more that we can go ahead and put through the schooling and be ready for spring. So that's the BTI. Next, we have the Lake Pleasant Fire District LoSAP Annual Certification. Did everybody receive the email and have a chance to read through the pre-evaluation census plan? Okay, we're looking for a motion to approve the final annual certification, which each volunteer will be awarded 1 year of LoSAP service credit. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move it.
Did everybody get their email that I sent out today in response to John's email?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that clarified.
I don't have a problem approving
No.
that because he may be right. I mean, it's my interpretation of the law and his interpretation of the law. But it's also the town's responsibility, along with the fire department, to review that LoSAP credits periodically,
I
to
agree.
make sure they still comply with general municipal law. And God knows when that was last done. Probably 2003, when the program changed.
No, the last time it was done was when I was in office. We hired a consultant who reviewed all the rules. You got my emails back,
Yes.
that's right? I don't have the paperwork, but it's in Town Hall. I wanna say RBS, but it's a very large insurance annuity firm that handles the benefit side of this program. And the board reviewed where we were. It was determined that we were, are we in the middle of this motion? Do we have a second?
We don't have a second, we only have you.
Oh, section.
Okay, so if we
Yeah, Chris, you're
continue
seconding it?
discussion.
Okay, then go to discussion.
Is that BFIS?
Yes, thank you, VFA, yes. I mean, somewhere in boxes at the house, I'll probably have it, but I know I left things for Dan that are probably still there, VFIS. And they're mostly concerned with the payout and keeping the fiduciary part of this
Exactly,
up.
that's my
But-
concern.
Well, but they're very good at it, and as far as I know, they're still hired, right? Right. So, that part can be the most confusing. And at that time, I had several lengthy meetings at the fire hall, once with council person and once by myself, with the executive committee to go over all things, including their posting of the points and how they attribute them, et cetera, et cetera. So that would have been I don't even remember the years I was in, but maybe at the end of my first term, so probably 10 years ago. But point being that the thing that I brought back to the board, and at that time the board was seeing what you asked for, but they were seeing it in that whole AUD filing. I don't think we ever sequestered it and did it in a different way, and I think you found a fine point there. But the board was given the option, as we sort of re-upped in this program, to keep it at its premium level. I don't want to say over generous, under generous, but at the premium level for what's allowed, or at least was allowed by the Controller's Office. We did find out at the time that the village does exactly half. And I was on village board when the things came about, and I think we thought we could only afford half of what the town board had originally started with. So that board at the time agreed that we would stay right where we were, and given several of the execs' advice at the time, I know Tom and John were both integral, but Andy and several others were in the same meetings. And they were saying that when LoSAP started with Frank as supervisor, it was seen as a recruiting tool.
Yes.
But the fire department was explaining to me then was that, look, this is really now just a retention tool. It didn't bring in the bodies that they thought it would.
Yeah.
And at the time, and I have no reason to believe the percentage is much different now. We've had a few young people join, but it was a graying of the fire department, much like it is
Yeah,
Twigs
still a problem.
and sure, Twigs and Lions and anybody else, but it becomes a little more of a problem when you gotta jump on a truck than some of the other service organizations.
Neil, the meeting you were talking about, was that when they were looking into a possible change
Well,
from
there was,
VFIS to a different company?
yes,
and-
VFIS was
yeah.
bidding to retain.
'Cause I was in on those.
Yes, you were, yeah, you were integral in preparing stuff on our side. Department, the fire company prepared things as well. And then in subsequent meetings, after we sort of put VFIS and the LoSAP program to bed, it became more about the contract, right? And you know, they admitted in those conversations that perhaps they weren't keeping up on the replacement for equipment the way they might have, and that's why it was kind of precipitous jump in what, you know, they were asking for a contract. My knowledge of the village, because the village owns that department, I knew that to be true, because we had a regular program of replacement that led
What does
into
that
those
have to do
things.
with LoSAP?
No, it was just more of those meetings. It was a general
Oh.
trying to cleaning up the communications. Maybe had gotten, you know, you get lax and things get sent down to the town board, and it just, maybe it wasn't as clear all the way through. But at that time, we definitely did a review of the points, how they're issued, by whom. It's usually the upper echelon of the fire department company, and there was a regular tote board in the office of that. So at least it's been in the last, I'm gonna say 10 years, I
No,
can
that's
find it
good.
in my notes, but we should, by statute, as you point out, for the local government efficiency, we should have those things on file, that they keep, send it to us, and then we file it, so that whenever a taxpayer says, well, you know, how do you substantiate that cost, we can do so.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Uh-huh.
Any opposed? Okay, so next is the county taking over our payroll reports. I sent a copy to everybody saw it. Do I need to read the attachment, or I
I
guess?
didn't get the copy of the report, I got the attachment and
Oh.
a copy of the resolution to hire Gary Reinhardt.
Yeah, we got resolutions, different
Gary
ones.
Reinhardt.
Yeah, Gary Reinhardt and.
For the library, which we did last month.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got this, I don't
Yeah,
have
we
the
got the sheet.
resolution.
Oh,
You have the attachment there?
Yeah, I have the
Yeah.
attachment.
The res-
Attachment A,
That's been
Did the resolution not go out with that?
No,
I don't think it did.
Oh, okay.
See, we were having a problem at town hall, Debbie had to do it on hers, mine would work.
Yeah, Nancy.
Well, I can,
Let's see.
we got the Gary Reinhardt and.
You
Oh,
want,
so then I just I must have sent the wrong attachment, that's my fault.
oh, okay, so I guess I better
Read it.
Wanna
read
read
this
the
to
resolution?
everybody, sure. Okay, authorizing the Hamilton County Treasurer's Office to provide bookkeeping and payroll services for the town of Lake Pleasant. Resolved that the town of Lake Pleasant has agreed to have the Hamilton County Treasurer's Office provide bookkeeping and payroll services due to the fact the town no longer has an account clerk employee. Resolved that the town supervisor, former principal account clerk, have worked out most of the details necessary to begin this implementation. Resolved that Lake Pleasant Town Board has agreed to enter into this contract, which is set at $7,875 for the period of June through December 2020. So for a full year, it's $13,500. I think that's what we had. So,
Yep.
the list, it's very lengthy. They use.
it's very lengthy.
They do the AUD. Nancy, you'd probably be better off explaining all this because you know what they don't do, which isn't very much.
Yeah, there's going
Some.
to be a learning curve at town hall as far as what, things that Kathy used to do, coding and,
workflow.
budget,
This is
you know,
bookkeeping in
deposit.
preparation for them, right?
Right, and things have to be brought up to the county. Something that I thought of recently were like budget transfers, someone's gonna have to learn how to do a budget
Sure.
transfer worksheet or something. But it's pretty much.
It's pretty extensive.
Yeah,
It
pretty
is.
extensive, and I was on the phone with Jody today a little bit, and I got the bank reconciliations done for May, so we're probably ready to, on Wednesday, bring our computer up.
Yeah, so that's what's gonna happen. Our computer system is actually gonna go up to the treasurer's office. It will be only used for us, but it's gonna be right there, which will be
Great.
easier than them going back and forth. We will have to be getting the payroll to them. We will have to be getting the vouchers to them.
Right.
There'll be some work that we'll have to do extra, within the office, and Randy's stepped up, and Faith has stepped up, and Debbie and myself, and we'll kind of fill in the, blanks here and there, but, just also would like to mention, hoping, Nancy, that we can maybe use you as a consultant every now and then if we need. I'm hoping the board is comfortable with that, cause there is some stuff that going down the road will come up that we in the office aren't gonna know how to handle, so it would be good if we had,
Unforeseen.
somebody.
I'm obviously for that, but as it pertains to, this action with the county, I would like to move it before anyone changes any minds, because I think this is a really good, and thank them in the
They've
same.
given us an excellent price.
An excellent price. And you know
Do I have
what,
a
Chris?
second on this?
I'll second.
About $50,000, isn't it?
Yeah, if you, Benny's and everything, sure. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
again, a few of the things we just pre-mentioned were also in that employee's duties.
Right.
But I mean, the timeliness of this, and particularly, the proximity, we can run things down there besides
Go past every day, all
obviously
three of us,
electronically.
all of us.
It's very convenient.
Yeah.
And,
Also, I think there's gonna be emailing.
yeah, of course, be a lot of electronic.
Or faxing
Sure.
where
And
all
it's
the
gonna be an
time
adjustment.
cards come in
Yeah.
and then they get faxed.
We're gonna have to get the library coordinating with town hall to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that everybody's timesheets get in at one time, so we can get it all up there together, so nothing gets kind of lost in the mix here.
While I have a tremendous amount of faith in that group,
Yes,
it doesn't hurt that we're not the first ones.
Yeah.
They've worked out kinks with a couple of other towns back, even in my time up there, smaller towns that took advantage of it, and I think it's high time.
yeah. They were saying that this is a much bigger
This is
project.
much bigger.
Like, one of the towns has like 2 or 3 bills a month,
Yeah,
Right.
right.
They don't have a library and all the things that we have,
Right.
all the different accounts and everything, but we had a meeting this week, we had Beth and Jody there, we asked Randy to come and sit in on it, Nancy, Debbie and myself, and we discussed a lot, and we all have a better understanding of what we're all gonna be doing, and it'll take us a little bit, but we'll get there.
Yeah, if they wanted to offer a 5-year commitment at this price, I mean, I think that.
Yeah, at this point, we're just doing it for 1 year.
Just say.
Jody, also asked again today if I would be there for at least the
Of
first
course.
payroll
Yes.
and probably the first audit, just to,
Yeah.
show them maybe we do things a little differently
Yeah,
than they do.
however makes them comfortable and you can do, the billable hours to you is gravy here. This
It
is
absolutely is.
This is a bonus for us and one that, a year from now, we'll be saying, geez, guess we could have done this before.
Yeah, right. So is everyone in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? So now I'm looking for a motion to adopt the resolution that I just read. Everybody comfortable with the resolution?
I thought that's what we just,
voted on?
Yeah.
that's what we just voted on.
Oh, I thought we were kind of doing the discussion on it all. Okay,
Yeah, but it was discussion
Yeah.
okay,
in answer to your resolution.
okay. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so next, the pathways. Dave McComb has been coming in weekly, just giving a report. Thank you to the highway department, went down there and did their normal jobs that they do, helping out. There was some vandalism down there. Some kids went in and kicked down the signs
They
on
do
the
that
first
every year,
bridge.
don't they?
Dan,
They have been fixed and they're back up. Dave said he has a little more cleaning up to do. But he also wanted to mention that he has a student that wants to volunteer for our community and do some work there. He didn't know his name, so he'll get it for us for, next meeting, but he's pretty optimistic and happy about that, having someone.
Local student?
I believe it's not a full-time resident.
No.
It's not a full-time
Like
resident.
seasonal who wants to get some,
Yeah. Just- yeah.
score something on
Yeah.
their resume, which.
Yeah.
that's
I know
wonderful.
it was an awesome Eagle Scout project.
Yep, exactly.
So-
Well, that's great.
And that vandalism wasn't caught on any of his CCTV,
Yeah, he wishes.
or, I guess he had game cameras out.
He has game
Yeah,
cameras.
yeah, no, not. But he, yeah, no.
And the game aren't talking.
Yeah, I walked it today and there isn't one broken post there.
It's a shame.
It's cracked, but
It
it's not
really is a
falling
shame.
over yet.
This shit is.
Yeah.
Every year.
The doctor says I need to walk, so I've been walking the next, it's almost a mile and a half for the full loop.
Okay, so let's get into new business. The community gardens. About, 3 weeks ago, I had gotten a call from Nancy Welch saying that Margaret Chrisbach was not wishing to run the community gardens this year, a little concerned with the COVID, and understandable. And Don happened to be in my office when Nancy called me the second time, and we were talking, and Don said, well, geez, I might think about doing it. So Donna and Nancy got hooked up, and Donna, would you like to kind of give a little what you're doing?
Well, I want to preface this with, I'm not a gardener. So,
Nancy just tell you what to do?
Pretty much.
so pretty much, I'm looking at the job as basically just keeping it organized, who has what plot,
What
and
plot.
I've got the water hook, or turned on, the village turned the water on, and making sure that the equipment's there to use. And other than that, there are 16 plots, and 4 of them are planted now. So if anybody wants a plot, give me a call.
So the other 12 are not spoken for either?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
That's something,
yeah.
wow.
And there are 2 greenhouses, and neither one of them has been planted yet. And from what I understand, usually Frank and, is it Margaret?
Margaret.
Margaret.
I knew Frank, I didn't know Margaret.
They did a lot of work down there.
They did a lot of work down there, they planted the greenhouse, and I'm not familiar with greenhouse growing at all, so.
The
If
one,
somebody would like to plant some tomato plants, everything that was grown in the greenhouses, from what I understand, was donated to the food pantry. So if somebody would like to plant the greenhouses,
well, I believe I understood from Nancy, and maybe you should talk with her again. I thought she said that Margaret and her son used the one in the back,
right,
the back one. So that one may be already, that's for them, I think, for a plan, unless they're not gonna do it this year.
nothing's been done at
Nothing,
all.
okay?
In fact, it doesn't look like anything's been done for 2 years almost, I would say,
Oh, okay.
That's true.
because
But
there's,
in the greenhouses for sure.
Cause there's plastic bags in there with the leaves and stuff that when you touch them, they disintegrate,
Yeah,
so.
it was supposed to be mulch.
You know, it's been a while.
So thank you, Don.
Thank you,
That
Don.
was nice. And we have guidelines for the office, for the COVID, which we have on all the doors, and I'll just quickly read it. Upon entering the town of Lake Pleasant buildings, the town requests wearing masks and the use of hand sanitizer. The protocol for the front of the municipal buildings will be as follows. The town supervisors and the town clerk's office doors will be locked. Anyone wanting to enter the building will need to come through the center door. There will be a hand sanitizer dispenser outside the door for visitors' use before entering the building. Upon entry, there will be a 6-foot marker when a visitor announces who they are here to see. There will be no physical greeting like handshaking. The department head will meet at the conference table, which can ensure a 6-foot distancing. After the visitor leaves, all areas will be sanitized from the table to the chairs to the doorknobs. At the end of the day, each employee is responsible to wipe down their work area, computers, keyboards, and telephones. Social distancing and hand washing are the two most important practices that will prevent COVID-19. Employees are required to observe these practices. All employees are required to wear face masks and keep a 6-foot distance. No public use of the town restrooms. So these are on all the doors, kind of like what the county did, but a little different. There's also an employee acknowledgement form. I'll just read it, but I have not gotten these out yet. And what it is I hereby acknowledge that I have received a copy of the Town of Lake Pleasant COVID-19 pandemic health and safety policy. I further acknowledge that I have read or will read the contents of the policy and will contact my department head or the personnel officer if I have any questions. I agree to abide by the COVID-19 pandemic health and safety policy. And they have to print their name, you have to sign, you have to put the date, and then whoever the personnel officer is. Like Randy's guys will have to do that.
Could you send me a copy of that?
Sure.
So tomorrow I can give it to, oh, you have it?
It's for everybody.
For the library board.
Thank you. Yes. I would like to see it get to, the library board, didn't you have one, right?
Yeah, I've seen that have anything anymore. I have nothing, no knowledge of any of the stuff that we talked about tonight. I have nothing about, what's that?
This is just something, and once we get into executive session, you'll have a better understanding of what I just gave you. So that's the story with that.
Do you have a copy of that little set of rules?
I do. I made a copy for everybody. Anybody need?
I'll send you that.
It's okay. Yes?
Yes, please.
There you go.
That was a big one.
Okay, so everybody has that. So they're done, okay. So I just want to make a mention again that this Thursday from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock at the Lake Pleasant Courthouse in the tennis courts, which is June 4th, they will be doing essential employees again for the testing, the COVID testing. But you do have to call and make a reservation to reserve because they don't have a lot of testing available. So when they run out, they run out. So if you know anybody that did it last time and wants to get retested, just to see after Memorial
Is it
Day.
antibody testing or virus testing?
Virus
Still
testing.
virus. Exactly the question I was about to ask, Chris.
No.
Any talk of that at County Health?
Yeah, I did notice in the email, and we have a meeting tomorrow morning via Zoom, and they're both on that. So, and that's like the first time it seems like there's actual antibody, so.
I think there's a lot of folks out there that realize that the tests we took, the test that's gonna be given on Thursday is a snapshot. Right? It's a Polaroid of that day for you. There seems to be more interest, I imagine in frontline workers, but just in general public, there seems to be more interest in getting the antibody and did I have it test.
Okay, so the next on the agenda,
Oh, this one I got.
you did get that, okay? Okay, is H2O retesting the wells.
You got it?
Yeah, I got that.
Speaking with Bill Dubendorf, the last time the wells were tested was 2017, and he's feeling like it might be time to retest again. So, last time he tested, it was $195, but that was 3 years ago. So I guess we were hoping that we could possibly approve it tonight not to exceed $250, which
So
seems.
moved.
What happened, I'll second it.
Thank you.
What happened to, the spring and fall testing that Bill was gonna do
He
to
didn't.
establish a timeline?
He didn't do it.
Never
Never
happened.
did it?
No,
Was that gonna be a timeline to be able to stop it?
Yeah, Nancy Germain had
Yeah, I remember
suggested
that.
keeping, we had very sporadic testing for,
Mhm.
and she suggested doing spring and fall for like 4 or 5 years. So
Get a
that we-
baseline. That's
Yeah,
okay.
so we get an idea which way it's going, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's been
I'm
pretty
sorry,
benign
it's
for a
never
long
been done.
time.
It's never been done since 17, and we really, Debbie and I thought it was a mistake when we went through all the files, and then Bill happened to stop in, and we started going through, and Bill said, no, it's been a few years. So it's definitely time, and I think, I agree with you, Chris, it might be a good idea to do it, you know,
I
at
think
least
so.
once a year.
Apparently,
at least.
the information was never relayed to them,
Yeah,
but I do think even if it's a couple $100 twice a year, that
it's worth it.
we should know where we stand with it.
Right, and see how we're going, what direction.
Yeah,
Because the last time we did, I remember,
Back when,
the town hall was, the numbers are really going down, but
Mhm.
one of the houses across the street, I can't remember which one offhand, but one of them kind of went up a little bit. And another one kind of stayed the same, yeah, so it's probably a good idea.
so you're passing a resolution
So we're gonna,
to have it done twice a year?
no, this
No,
one was a test, a recent test
Okay.
to not exceed 250.
Okay,
just for this year,
Is
If
that
we get-
per property?
it's all the houses.
It's
All the
just-
houses, it's all, everyone that we tested last time, all of them.
Right.
For
Which-
250,
not to
Right.
exceed.
195
It's a
last time.
guesstimate.
Yep,
okay.
I think that when we do make contact again with Mr. Dugendorf, we can bring that up, what Chris is talking about maybe doing.
I'm still confused on Nancy's point.
Yeah.
Is this a per well charge or a charge for everything?
everything.
And how many
That's-
wells are they testing?
it'd be fine, wouldn't it?
Yes, like.
Well,
4 or 5.
plus town hall, plus they did the, behind town hall, Bill Waller's property. There was quite a few they did. I went with them.
Yeah, I know.
I was,
I think
It's
it's
an
fine,
education.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Not including the town,
It might be 6.
yeah.
Right, so it's for the whole works, not per well.
Or the
I
contaminated
actually have
wells.
his file here, if someone wants to go through it and figure out from the last time.
So it's gonna be 250 for the homes and the town wells.
Right,
Well, and then we're doing this on a prospective basis,
Not, yeah.
because he hasn't
He hasn't
given a
No,
quote.
he hasn't given us a quote, but we just wanna get the motion going.
Get it moving.
Okay.
6 plus town.
6 plus 10, because they are doing
That was
the
his
chicken,
total.
so they're doing the chicken coop up
Yes,
behind the
we did.
Ponderosa. That's
Yep.
what it is.
Yes,
So it's 6 total
6 plus 10.
plus the town hall.
plus 10, okay,
The town one's a rather big wellhead up near behind the salt shed.
right.
Okay, so any further discussion on that? So we'll just go ahead and have him come and test them all and get us a number.
And all in favor?
You call it.
All, yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're good with that. Next is the RO system for Blennis's. He had called right after Memorial Day. He said he has 7 bedrooms. When everybody got up there, he ran out of water, had a lot of air in the lines. There were lots of issues, and he's kind of angry. He wants his old system back because the system that was put in there as a replacement was the spare that we had, and it was smaller. So we called Bill. Bill came right up Tuesday morning and went and checked it, and I forget how many. They claimed it was, when they got there for the weekend, there was only 2 inches of water in the 300-gallon tanks. But when Bill got there, what we think is Bill set it up, just put the whole system in on Thursday afternoon, and
So it's
who
1 day
knows?
recharge.
If one day,
Yeah.
so there wasn't enough time, because he said it takes a long time to build up and fill those 2 300-gallon tanks. So we really think that's what the issue was. After Memorial Day, Bill went and checked again, and he said everything was fine. He checked nothing wrong. So I called Mr. Glennis and I explained it all to him, and he informed me that he wants his old system back. So I think I sent you all an email, kind of bringing everybody up to snuff on that, so that's why,
But the new system that Bill is proposing is larger than Glennis's old system, yes?
The one, I thought he
I
said,
think Glennis's old system is like 1850, and the new one he's proposing is like,
no, the 1850 is the backup one.
oh, that's the backup
Yeah.
one that's in there now
Right.
temporarily.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
And
See,
so
right
that's
now-
why he thinks that that's making the difference, but it's not, but that's,
and we have no backup.
Right,
So
you
if
could-
we can
Yeah, we're gonna need
cheaply,
the backup
yeah,
back.
that,
yes,
exactly.
yes, so we have something on the shelf, so,
Well, what Deb is saying is that if the backup, that 1800 gallon one was working properly, he wouldn't have
Right.
had a problem irrespective of the heavy visits he had on,
right,
let's call it Marley.
right.
A 2800 gallon is more than an 18,
Mm-hmm.
but, when working right, that backup should have been,
Yeah,
And
and
Bill said
that's
would,
exactly what Bill
because
said.
Bill said if you figure per person, it's 50 gallons a day, and that's for showering, for laundry, for washing hands.
yeah. we've
And when
done
I
this
said
a
that to
number of
Mr.
times.
Glennis, he said, not the way you have to wash your hands
Hands every
now,
21 seconds
Yeah,
or something, yeah.
20 seconds of washing your hands
Yeah.
with a house full, so,
Well, he argued about it last year and the year before that too, so.
okay,
What's he
okay.
doing, renting out rooms?
I think he has a lot of friends.
I've got some questions.
So,
Not so.
okay.
Can his old system, can that be repaired? What's wrong with the old?
Well, that is what we're looking at.
That's the 2950?
the pump-
Yes.
No, not for the repair.
Okay.
Oh, I
No,
was-
the repair is 195, but that's only for the pump. He doesn't have a price on the motor, he has to get back to me, so we can't really make a decision tonight, just wanted to get everybody on board.
But we thought that the replacement for the last motor for, was it Samuelson's, was like a couple $600 or something like that?
Yes, the bill was 600.
So I think we're still not talking maybe more than $1,000
No.
to rebuild.
Okay, I'm just saying, why was that size system put in the first place?
Well, in the beginning of time, when Betsy and I went through all the records, each house was measured. Each house was measured, and each house was given a different RO system depending what the capacity was.
Okay, so
So that's why he wants that one back.
that's the capacity that was recommended at that
Correct.
time.
Yes,
Yeah.
And
This
I
was,
feel
at that time Turner's house, right?
we should replace what he had with the same thing.
Well, that's what we're doing. We're
so
repairing it.
that's what we're hoping to repair. Bill said that it would be a lot cheaper than buying, but he was just giving us an estimate both ways for you guys
So-
to
so
judge.
He's truly overcharging this, I'm not overcharging, he's truly overcapacitating this
Yeah.
system.
Yes,
An 1800 that's working would handle Turner's old house, no
yes,
problem.
Yeah.
yes.
This is a 2800 gallon, which is that's a mameluca.
Right, but you can't blame him for
No.
buying what he's got.
No, absolutely.
No,
So, yeah,
we're still
so,
living with this, so.
and I told Mr. Glennis after tonight, after I spoke to the board, that I would get back to him. I told him that I can't make decisions without the board's approval. So what I will do, as soon as we hear back from Bill on the price of the motor, I'll get back to you all. I don't know how we wanna do this, because I don't know if we wanna wait 2 more weeks, I guess what's the difference? If we waited 2 more weeks till our next meeting to make a decision,
But it would be helpful, I have no problem, because I'm not using the water. It would be helpful to know if that thing is recharged to a reasonable amount now. So we had the 2 weeks.
okay, and it was.
Okay.
After
But to
Memorial
his
Day,
satisfaction.
Bill went over,
That
and
one, I
it
didn't hear
was,
that part, okay.
yes, it
And
was,
then I think we can wait till the next meeting.
yes. Yeah, but Mr. Samuelson just feels that he wants
Mr.
his original
Glennis.
one back.
Mhm.
So,
Glennis.
as soon as, Glennis, I'm sorry, so as soon as I get, the other price from Bill with the motor, I'll shoot everybody an email just to kind of get you on board, and we'll go from there on that.
How is Bill Devendorf notified to go in and set up Glennis, for instance?
Glennis calls him.
Okay,
He
so
calls
if he
direct,
calls
not-
on Thursday and all his guests are coming on Friday night, and there's only 2 inches of water in the tank,
Yeah. There you go.
that's on him.
But we don't know when Mr. Glennis
No.
called
No,
Bill Dippendorf, do we? I mean,
I guess we don't, but
We
to
don't
your
know.
point, Chris, this was
yeah,
the
Each
constant,
homeowner calls?
Yeah, this was the
This was the one
constant
that
problem
froze up too.
with that
Yeah.
Hawk, when they were handling this for us for so many years. They were so reactive, so quick to come to, and I mean, no real, portal to portal nonsense. They were quick to come, and they would constantly be on, I think Frank before me, and then myself. Look, they have to give us some time. They can't just show up at the place and, don't they? So we tried to ask that some of the homeowners, which I thought most homeowners had anyway, have a service guy, a guy who makes sure the driveway's all clear and can they just check that, a caretaker, and then could you just check to make sure that there's, enough water pressure, et cetera. But it seems the same thing, and this guy also seems to be very reasonable to work with.
Oh, he is.
But if you get a call the day before, it's like, that's just not enough.
Yeah,
They're not local plumbers.
Yeah,
He didn't say.
tell us
If
when
their
he got the
well
call.
was out, they would still be in the same boat.
Yes, true that, right.
Yeah. If it was my house with 7 bedrooms with our well,
Wouldn't make it?
no.
Okay, so next, anybody have anything for committee reports? You're
Oh,
next.
I had something on that last, if you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I I gotta ask permission to speak, but.
You told me you don't have anything to do with these.
Exactly.
You told
Only
me.
a suggestion, the pump, when I look here, a new one is $3,000. The repair will probably be well under $1,000. If you didn't wanna wait the time, if you wanted to pass it, if the bill came in estimate came in for under 1,000, that's still a 30%, 33% discount. Just to move on, so you don't have to wait for the next meeting.
So, like a motion to proceed as
Not to
long
As
as
long as it's under
the total cost is not
$1,000.
over $1,000?
It's just a suggestion,
That's a good
Not-
idea.
Randy,
It's a good
it's
idea.
moving things forward.
Very reasonable. Not to exceed 1,000,
Right.
Okay,
for the repair of the previous one that he was happy with.
This is why I have faith that you're gonna have all the roads fixed by the end of the year.
so who moved that?
Don't be surprised.
You won't be-
I didn't.
Randy,
I can't.
I think Neil moved it.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Everyone in favor?
Pre-discussed, thank you.
Okay, that was a very good idea, Randy.
Yeah, you can go back to sleep now. Put your feet up, put your feet up.
Okay, did
you find
anybody,
your GPS?
Yes, I did.
I figured.
okay, any committee reports, anybody?
Committee report.
No, but you found your GPS unit.
Yeah, but that's later.
Oh, okay.
No committee reports, all right, so Randy, why don't you go ahead with your GPS
Oh, I
price?
just Googled and Matt actually found, because the World Wide Web is great, it works both places. A very good, Garmin GPS unit, the Montana 600 or 610, depending on models, and it's $600.
Oh,
See, I told you, minor in my world. So that's what I'm going to suggest that the town purchases. And then we can maybe get some better, quicker, 'cause like I said, I have 12 of these roads, I haven't gotten square one.
Right.
yet.
okay,
I'll make a motion.
But Brady, you need approval for that.
Yeah,
It's less than $600.
I know that, but
That's right.
I was gonna say, you don't need
He
a
likes
rent.
us.
We don't need a motion.
Just,
Not only is
No.
it less than $600,
Debbie, do
but
you not realize that I probably know exactly what's allowed to
you
do?
might be able to get 75% of it back.
I'm going to
And
try
Yes,
this.
sir.
don't put it under buildings.
Okay. There's a couple other ones. Snowmobiles?
okay, so next is, I'm looking for a motion to pay bills. Second,
I'll second.
any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so next we're gonna do is roundtable. Anything, Neil?
I will just reiterate the idea about the 4th of July ring of fire around Lake Pleasant. It resonates with me as one more way we can honor the Independence Day that is not COVID prescribed, and we have no real responsibility for it, only maybe to put it on should the town get behind it to put it on our sites, et cetera, and then do the same to put Mike Camoin in touch with the chamber, and I'll certainly work with him.
Okay.
Was that on Lake Pleasant or Sacandaga?
Lake Pleasant. Well, because Lake Pleasant is
All the way around.
all the way around is habitated.
But a fire on the other side would be interesting.
I'm sure Sacandaga will have the annual boat parade.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, they're separated.
right, and you know an awful lot, just to go back, touch back about my time proctoring the village meeting. It did appear, I don't wanna take anybody's thunder, but it did appear that they were coming to agreement on still having fireworks with proper safety. No carnival and no parade, but what the parade committee is contemplating is a reverse parade, where the parade stuff sits in place on Wilbur,
Downey Avenue.
Downey Avenue. And then folks who want to go around can see those things, because naturally Donna has to pull the trigger on a lot of, whatevers, not just floats, but other bands and so on. But it would be something. I never did get to ask a question, but I think the answer might be no to, is there any candy thrown about
No.
in this case, but that's a no.
I could throw candy to the floats. So.
Yeah, but then you can throw it too, it's true, it's a reverse parade.
That's right.
But in order to try to make just more festive, I propose that we promote this.
Okay.
And
Oh, sure.
yeah,
And decorate the cars, driving through.
Yeah, right, why not? Folks can get in the spirit, which
So
is nice.
you'll help coordinate that?
I will,
deal with the
I'll
chamber?
contact the chamber and contact Mike. Mike wanted to
Okay.
be, part of it. He's a photo guy, or he might.
Oh, okay.
This is Bob's son. He's the one who used to make, I don't know what he does these days, but he used to make films, documentaries, big time.
Really?
things. Yeah, things that showed in movie theaters around and so on.
Inside the blue line.
Right, your relative, Jack Ledley, was featured in one and shown out at Seacoast School, and, anyway, so he knows more about that stuff than most folk.
Okay.
All right, I'll
Don,
do some.
anything for roundtable?
Yeah, and I got two things. First one's pathway. Over the years, it seems like we've been kind of complacent with it. It's a big, lot of money that went into it and a lot of volunteer time. And things have been maintained on it, but we have not improved on it. And I think there are ways that we can improve on it and maintain it a little better without much in taxpayer investment. A couple things I've noticed walking on it, the signs are put up now, and Mr. McComb has done a very good job with it.
Yeah.
And, but the signs need cleaning. Some of them are getting hard to read because of all the
Vandalism.
all the
Plowing and
trees
nonsense, yeah.
plowing and stuff. For when they need it cleaning. There are boards that need to be replaced, and a lot of the marking on it, if I came from somewhere and didn't know where I was walking on the back end of that, I would not be able to find the trails. There seems, once you get across the second boardwalk, there's a sign that says you are here. And as you go either any other way, there's places where if you continue walking, you'll go down a snowmobile trail and end up at the burn pit. Or if you continue another way, you'll end up either at the Lake Pleasant School, or you will end up at the laundromat. The other way, if you keep walking, you'll end up in somebody's backyard. And there should be signs and stuff put up to, I think, to contain people and to give a little bit more guidance on it.
Don, there's still money in that account for the pathway. Dave is very frugal
Right.
with his spending. I mean, he used to
He is too.
apologize
He is.
if he came in, with a little Stevenson's thing built for some screws, to
Yeah.
put the signs up. But,
True that.
yeah.
And in keeping with that, Casey might be finally caught up. Casey was really bowled up with it. I love people who take advantage entrepreneurially on different things. He sent out Facebook text to the businesses, you know, I'm making signs.
For the
Like,
spacing.
Stay 6 feet and to the mask, and everybody bought, so he was busy for a while.
Nice signs.
He might be caught up. Maybe if you jotted maybe some of the things that we should do, we could
Right.
maybe ask him to contract it and,
Talk
know.
to Dave.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you, like you say, Dave's pretty frugal.
Signs.
Yeah, remind him that there
Yeah.
is money in that account
Oh, he knows
and it's
there's
just
money.
sitting.
He does, but
You know that there's money, 'cause last year he came to us,
Yeah.
wanted to buy gloves
even,
He
for
knows
all
exactly what's in
helpers.
Right,
And I said,
But
Dave,
he's-
I'll order
he's
dozens
frugal.
of them.
right, he's
Well,
frugal.
he brought back every pair, they're not used that bad, and I'm like, Dave, people have their hands in them. Stop.
even
I just can't do this.
That's him, and that's good.
I'm,
there's main trails that go through, and if they were marked a different color, the meditation walk, you know, that's not marked at all, it's basically just following the path on the ground, which
I
is,
mean, he can make them, they're pretty weatherproof. Some of these, they're like a vinyl corrugate, you know? They'll stand up and you can wipe
color
them off.
dots, you know. so
Oh,
you
that
want
too,
trail, you
sure.
run.
No, like
Like
what you
they
should
do
do
with
with the
the
snow,
state
yeah,
trails.
like you should do with the state trail.
Just something.
Great idea.
I thought the town did maintain that. Now, I haven't been down there since
It
my
does.
dog died.
Yeah, the town does maintain it, Randy
Yeah, they do.
has, yeah,
just
they
that-
fixed it
Saying
already
there
this
are boards
spring.
that need to be replaced, I would've thought
Yeah.
that they would've been done this spring.
Uh,
Well, of course, you're buried with other
it's
things.
been very busy, and
Yeah.
yeah, one of the big things now is at the end of the last boardwalk by the dock, there's a bench that's kind of set on a bump out,
Yeah.
but it's not there anymore, it's fallen into the water.
And,
Oh, gee.
every 3 or 4 years, Dave would
That
send
would
up a
be cool.
flare
I can't
for
believe they
a,
didn't
for a
tell me
work,
that.
for a work day.
You're just in my
A
office.
volunteer work day, Chris, and I
They
know
just in
the
my
last
office,
2
they
of
didn't tell
those,
me about it.
maybe over the last 6 or 7 years, I was at.
Yeah, the whole
They
bench.
get plenty of people.
Right
Guys
there
would
by
come
the
with,
power lines?
you know, charged up,
By the
handbills,
power line.
some
Yes,
shovels and
it's
this and
just
that.
before the
Yeah, you
dock.
could
right
probably
before
put a
the dock.
call out for some people to
And-
come help.
yeah.
Send someone down and look at it.
And he has a little coterie of folks.
There's
then
a sign up on the
He
dock.
asked us to send it out to the
Yeah,
Lions.
there's
We had a lot of
couple
people
trees
show up.
on the back,
You know,
Nice.
Lions can only,
across
I would
the
say,
trail on the back, too.
you know, 2 Lions are worth any good work in May.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's another great big
Meditation.
group, but you
Yeah,
show up in
meditation, but
numbers.
they cut 4 trees out of it last Thursday.
Well, this is the other one where
Chris, do you have anything for round table?
it's back there.
The
I saw
only
it today.
thing I'd like to bring the board's attention is, I don't understand why, and I'm not against this being done, okay, but I'm always the wet blanket. I know. The signs for the graduates.
Uh-huh.
It just seems to me, why the hell is the school doing this?
They
It
did,
doesn't sound like
they
an
did,
appropriate
Go ahead,
use of town money.
they did, for their driveways.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no houses.
And this would be more of a pride to
Community
the,
thing.
to the community.
In one place, community
Yes.
thing. But that, it's a good question, Chris, and the school just doesn't have enough money. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
Well, I
Anybody
told,
still listening?
I told, Heather, you know, I said, it's the same tax base.
Mhm.
So if they do
Always is.
something.
No, it is, but the point
yeah.
is that there are certain things the town is allowed to spend money on, and I don't think that's one of them.
Well, I think it's just for youth
And
rec.
it may be, a gray area because it'll be coming out of the youth recreation budget.
Sure.
So that's, I can see that is a gray area there. But just something to think of.
So, if everybody's concerned about that, we can just get some donations.
I don't want to waste any more time, you know, to have that happen. So I'm willing to say, for this year, this is youth rec. Quite frankly, she's underspent because
Right,
of the COVID. So it's in there. But I don't think you should count yourself as a wet blanket for arguing for spending, you know, money that we shouldn't spend. I think that's what we're supposed to be here for, so.
Well, and I think instead of doing a barbecue, which we all know is not really a
Right.
good idea, instead of doing that for the kids, if we did the signs, instead of spending the money on the barbecue, she'd be spending it on the signs.
Yeah. I
Which
didn't see
Honestly, I
what it
don't,
is.
that's really the only reason. She
Yeah.
seems to be working so hard at this,
She is.
and she's pushing the rock uphill this year.
Yeah,
Because
there's
of
probably
the-
no, there will
we're
be
tying
summer
her
rain
hand.
there.
Yeah, you could see she was more or less demoralized, and it was her idea, so that's the
Yeah.
only reason I got behind it.
Well, the recreation facilities are gonna open in 4 weeks? Is that the schedule right now?
I thought that was
2 more weeks to
phase
phase 3 and
4.
2 weeks to phase 4?
Oh, I thought it was
Sure.
phase 4.
That's-
The phases confuse me, I'll admit.
Phase 4 is when the recreational facilities
Right.
come open.
Right.
So that would take us into July 1st.
Yeah,
Her
thereabouts.
program is July and August.
Yes, but
But
which
she's
ones,
gonna be limited what she can do.
right, you gotta see which
Very.
ones are gonna open.
Yeah.
Adirondack Experience is not gonna open for the summer.
Yeah, her
Oh, no,
trips,
I
her trips
understand
were
that.
very limited, that's
But I
true.
have faith that Sammy will find something.
Yeah.
She's very good at that.
She is, she really is.
I was hoping the Adirondack Experience wouldn't open, but the Blue Mountain Lake Adirondack Museum would.
Me
I'm
too.
trying to be correct.
Okay, Debbie, do you have anything for roundtable?
I just wanted to discuss we did our first Skype arraignment in our courtroom the other day, which was pretty neat. And I got a letter from DEC that they wanted to pull my agency of stopping to sell licenses for fishing and,
Because you're not selling enough.
because I'm not selling enough. Arietta also got the pull on theirs too.
So this is not a suggestion, they're gonna do it.
They did it.
Wow,
But I wrote a letter and they're gonna reissue me.
good.
They're setting up a whole new system. And they kind of felt like those agents who really weren't selling enough, they were just gonna not give me a new printer, whatever. So I wrote a letter to them, sent it by email, and I got a response the next day saying that they would reconsider me and that I would be getting hooked up into the new
You know,
system.
it's expensive to
Assistance for
set up
business.
a slower moving
Mm-hmm.
account, and I understand that, maybe fiscally they're being responsible. However, it's really hard to get
Well, I told them, I
enough
said, you know,
places to sell licenses.
my office is just a couple miles from the largest state
Yeah.
campsite. The Tanner's Tackle is closed on Tuesday, so there's no
Mm-hmm.
sales there, and the next stop up is the county. So they just took me into consideration, and they are gonna reissue me, and Arietta sent a letter, and they're gonna reissue them also.
Oh, good,
So,
okay, so
we're
both
back up
towns
and
got
running.
it. That's great.
We just felt that the more things are taken away from us, even though it's just a couple $100 a year, it's
Yeah, it's a
still,
precedent. for
it's
that.
still something the town clerk is.
And I know how much you enjoy it, you always say.
I do, I have fun with all these people, I have the same people every year, I was telling them.
I'll make sure I come see you next year.
Okay,
Oh, that's Randy. Nancy, do
What
you have
was this
anything for
about,
roundtable?
Randy?
but what?
You did your first what arraignment?
Skype,
Skype arrangement. So we.
Arraignment via Skype.
We had to do an arraignment.
Oh, Skype.
So we did our first Skype one, which was pretty cool. Judge Smith was the judge on the bench that day.
that's
So
probably
it
good.
was that, and,
It worked good.
yeah, yep.
I have nothing.
Nothing?
I've got
Okay.
one more thing.
Oh,
I have two,
God.
I only got two more. But, I think it's imperative that the town leaders and the county leaders get in touch with our state leaders, governor, assembly, whatever, and just make it known that we need to get our state campsites open. Our businesses depend on that. The state campsites don't get open, a lot of the businesses are gonna be in trouble.
Supposed to open June 7th?
They're supposed to start opening June 7th.
Yeah, and they won't all be, because anyone who knows the folks who work for them, and a lot of them used to work for me, part-timers, some of them haven't been called back yet. And the cleanup is massive. I mean, think of the blowdowns on any large piece of property that you folks might own, and it's times 100.
I know the Paseco campsite, nobody's been called back.
No,
Even the
Has
caretaker.
Moffitt's been?
Moffett's, they've been cleaning up, Dave.
yeah, I don't think the whole crew, but enough that they
Yeah.
started, but Louis,
I got a phone, the Ranger
yeah.
still gets.
And Pacifica was not, because I see them going by all the time with trucks and trailers.
I know the caretaker for the two campsites on Backside Lake, as of last week, and not been
No,
called back.
okay,
No,
I assumed they were going to the
played golf with one of
campsites.
them.
Wow.
I said, you gonna be able to play Wednesday? He said, yeah, they still haven't called me. He said, you gonna be able to play next week? Just yesterday, yeah, still haven't called me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just assuming, I have no idea, but just assuming it's gonna take them a week or 10 days to get open, I think it was irresponsible of the governor to send out initially saying, oh, campsites will be open. I mean, it confused Chris, confused a lot of people.
That's,
Yeah.
But before that, June 1.
Memorial Day.
June 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, closed Memorial Day will open the day after.
The day
which of
after,
course,
yeah.
you know, there's states where they open the restaurants the day after Mother's Day. It's frustrating, but it's gonna be a while, and I know the county board, just tagging on Don, I know the county board is working as they can on this.
Yeah.
I also know that they sometimes feel, particularly the chairman, doesn't want to ruffle feathers that he knows will not get any result other than bad. All that said, I think we do have to make noise to let folks know in power that this is not something to be trifled with. It just isn't.
It's not.
Okay, so next, we'll go into, I would like to go into executive session. I'm looking for a motion to enter to discuss a personnel matter. So I need a motion.
Specific.
Has to be first,